Koshi is an orphan boy who ends up homeless after his house burns down. However, when a thick dummy mommy finds him rotting on the streets, she brings him to the girls' dorm, where he meets 5 hot baddies who all want to fiddle with his joystick. It all starts when Koshi's house catches on fire, and instead of taking responsibility, his dad leaves to buy milk. With no place to go, Koshi starts roaming the streets thinking he's Batman, when in reality, he is dying in the gutter. While he begs for food on the streets, people ignore him until a milky mommy named Minoru approaches him and asks if he'd like to have her cookie for lunch.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
She then takes him back home, where she treats him to instant noodles and tells him to take a bath. She then sees a fish cake on his cheek and licks it off, leaving Koshi flustered. Before she sees his South Pole rising, he heads to the bathroom to relax, but is met with 3 busty chicks inside.
Wow! Beautiful!
When one of them makes fun of his little soldier, Koshi gets red from embarrassment and screams. Just then, a pink-haired baddie named Athena returns home and asks Minoru about the scream. But just then, Koshi comes running out of the bath in the flesh and crashes directly into Athena. The next thing he knows, he's giving her a tongue twister, and it makes her sprinkler go off. He gets scared for his life and tries to run away, but the other girls restrain him under charges of being a diddler. He tries to explain that it was all an accident, but one of them points out that Athena is nosebleeding after he made her reach Cloud 9. Afterwards, Minoru explains to Koshi that this is the goddess dormitory for girls, and introduces him to Kyria, Freya, and Cirne. The girls ask how he ended up at the dorm, and Koshi tells them about his sob backstory, which makes them all pity him. He says he really wants to find a job so he can afford to go to school, but he needs a place to stay. That's when Minoru suggests he work there as the new dorm mother, and it will cover both his living and money situation. Koshi immediately takes it because it's every man's dream to be surrounded by busty and nume waifus, but the girls mention that Athena might not be too happy about it. Afterwards, they take him to Athena's room, where Minoru tells her that Koshi will be working as the dorm mother, but she immediately refuses the arrangement. Later, she packs up her stuff and straight up leaves, so Koshi asks what her issue is. Minoru explains that Athena has only ever gone to an all-girls school, and in her previous dorm, her roommate brought over a boyfriend without asking her. She walked in on them clapping in 4K, and the next thing she knew, she passed out with a nosebleed. Minoru hoped Athena would get used to men if Kasha were always at the dorm, and they rarely needed the help anyway. Since Athena's already gone, the girls suggest they unpack Kashi's bags, but he says he won't take away her home and runs outside. He goes after her to stop her, and she says she is just protecting himself after what happened at her previous dorm. At this, Koshi tells her he has already turned down the job offer, so she can just go back to her dorm. Later, as Athena walks back to the dorm, she recalls Minoru telling her that Koshi had no place to stay because his house caught fire. Despite that, he gave up this job to make her feel safe, which makes her realize she is being extremely selfish. Meanwhile, Koshi is sitting in a park and sneezing from the cold. After he completely passes out, Athena returns and says she can't let him leave after he gave her the talk no jutsu. Soon after, Koshi wakes up, and Athena is carrying him back to the dorm. Assuming he's lying in bed, he ends up grabbing Athena's cushions, causing her to pass out once again. He then helps her return to the dorm, where everyone welcomes him with a smile. Minoru praises him for his efforts, and when he asks if Athena will forgive him for diddling with her, they tell him she already has. With that, Koshi becomes the official mother of the goddess dormitory. A few days later, Koshi is sweeping the front yard when he sees some women gossiping about the dorm's bad reputation. However, Koshi tells himself he doesn't care what other people think because he has a job and a roof to live under, thanks to Minoru and the others. Motivated to help them, he heads to the second floor, but is shocked that it looks worse than the sewers. He finds a lot of trash in front of every door, but strangely, Athena's door is the only one that's clean. First, he presses Minoru's bell and tells her he's collecting garbage. She steps out of the door looking like a snack, and Koshi immediately panics. When he asks her about her choice of clothes, she says that looking like an OnlyFans thought is essential to her research. He begs her to put something on and crawls away from his room, admitting that he is already exhausted after just one room. Just then, Freya opens her door and pulls him inside, immediately putting him in a cat costume to fulfill her degenerate fantasies. She eagerly tells him she is an avid cosplayer who makes all her outfits by hand. Koshi thinks that Freya is very welcoming as opposed to Athena, but she suddenly drops a measuring tape in his hand and starts taking off her plot armor, which makes him regret it immediately. She forces him to take her measurements, but when Freya starts getting sussy, he tries to run away. However, he trips on something, pulls Freya in, and gets buried under her entire milk factory. Before things get too heated, an alarm goes off, and Minoru rushes into the room, telling them to evacuate the building because she's accidentally let out toxic fumes. Outside, both Freya and Minoru start joking about the deadly incident, and Kashi finally realizes why they have a bad reputation on the street. When the girls wonder what they should do to pass the time, Kashi gets upset and starts scolding them. Minoru plays it off because no one got hurt, but he reminds them that she can get sued for releasing toxic fumes into the environment. Seeing him get so worked up, the girls apologize immediately, but Kashi starts shaking and runs off in embarrassment. He stops at a street to reflect on his words, unaware that he's still in a catgirl costume and everyone's staring at him. When people start clicking pictures, he finally realizes he's gonna get canceled on Twitter by some angry feminist. Meanwhile, as Freya and Minoru wait for the fumes to clear, they admit that they admire Kashi's courage to yell at them when they do something wrong. Just then, the wind blows and they start sneezing, so Kashi quickly returns with a blanket so they don't catch a cold. When they ask how he got it, he says he had to get on his knees like your mom, and they both start cuddling him for being such a good boy. Just as they start getting freaky with him, Atina suddenly arrives and goes unconscious with another nosebleed. At night, she scolds the girls for diddling with Kashi and urges them to create a wholesome environment. When Minoru decides to display her milk packs for no reason, she pulls out moral enforcement tools to discipline her. One night, while Kashi is sleeping in his room, thankful that the girls accepted him here, Minoru is in her lab cooking up a potion that'll make things freaky. She realizes testing it on women is too vanilla, and she just so happens to have the perfect guinea pig for it. On the other hand, Freya has created a brand new costume for Kashi and is giggling in her room while imagining the torture she's going to put him through. As Kashi begins to feel chilly, he suddenly remembers Atina's dedication towards creating a wholesome environment, which makes him feel warmer. Just then, he starts hearing continuous thuds upstairs in Kiria's room. The floor then breaks, and she starts dangling from it, but since she can't pull up, she decides to drop down. Kashi quickly tries to catch her so she doesn't break her toes, but his face gets buried deep into her fountain of youth. Kiria asks if he's okay, and when he gasps for air, she quickly gets up. She then apologizes for causing him trouble and promises to fix the ceiling later, but Koshi is wondering how this even happened. He then spots a manga amid the rubble, but Kiria quickly hides it, claiming she is embarrassed to talk about it. Koshi assures her that it's pretty normal, but she still feels self-conscious and assumes he's making fun of her. She then explains her parents ran a dojo from home, and she grew up with a bunch of brothers who were all testosterone junkies. To be more feminine, she bought a shoujo manga and immediately got hooked. Seeing hot dude boys smashing chicks gets her so worked up that she ends up smashing Kashi's wall, and Kashi finally understands how she fell through the ceiling. She apologizes again and promises to fix the wall as well, but Kashi tells her not to worry. Then she asks if she can sleep here tonight, and Kashi's heart starts racing because he thinks she's offering to do intense cardio with him. She then gently pushes him down, explaining that she turns a lot while sleeping, and there is a chance she falls through the hole again. Kashi starts blushing and asks if she's okay sleeping with him, and she says it's fine because she's used to it since she grew up with a million brothers. After Kashi agrees, she tells him she wants to talk before they sleep, and then tells him he reminds her of his brothers back home. She then immediately throws his blanket away and locks him in an armbar because that's how she talks with her brothers at home. Getting all the physical exercise makes her cookie moist, but then she realizes Kashi is 2 seconds away from jizzing and quickly backs off. She apologizes again and explains she got carried away, but Kashi tells her he enjoys getting squished by juicy thighs.
You naughty, naughty.
He then explains that she's not any crazier than the rest of the residents, but the real problem is that they'll all be kinda busty and cute, and this makes his little Jimmy way too excited. Even though she thinks of him as a brother, Kashi explains to her that they are not related, so she should be a little mindful of stuffing her cookie in his face. However, he suddenly realizes what he said was embarrassing and runs out of the room. Kiria hears him upstairs and tells him he'll fall through the hole, but Koshi insists that he will be fine, which makes her a little sad. She then goes to bed, admitting that no guy has ever called her cute before, and she begins to wonder if her shoujo manga fantasies are really about to come true. This gets her so worked up that she ends up damaging the carpet, and Koshi hears her scream, hoping she doesn't wreck his whole room by the morning. Later that night, Sirni enters Kiria's room and finds Kashi sleeping in her futon. She came here because she wants Kiria to make her a late-night snack, but she quickly understands what happened after seeing the hole in the floor. She then starts mumbling about some master servant nonsense and agrees to repair the floor using lunar powers if he agrees to become her servant. Koshi is on the verge of sleeping and agrees to it without thinking, so she locks lips with him to complete the contract before absorbing the moonlight from the window. The next day, Koshi wakes up to Kiriya praising him for fixing her room, but the guy is confused because he didn't do anything. He then recalls Serena visiting him, but brushes it off as a dream. Later, as he prepares breakfast for the girls, Athena joins him in the kitchen, and he starts flexing how he used the leftover vegetables to make them a soup. Just then, Minoru and Freya are attracted to the smell and come down, and Athena notices that Minoru has her melons on display. She tries using moral enforcement tools to stop her, but Minoru keeps dodging her like a pro. While Freya is enjoying the show, Koshi is already fed up because they're fighting early morning. Just then, Kiriya enters the kitchen and asks Koshi where he learned to cook, and he tells her the plot gods just randomly gave him this skill for plot convenience. As he takes a spoon out, Serenade suddenly arrives yoinks the soup, so Koshi yells at her to use a bowl. Later, after everyone tastes the delicious soup, Minoru and Freya ask Koshi to try out their respective methods of torture, while Kiriya invites him to a sparring match. Seeing this makes Athena feel left out as she wonders how quickly he became friends with everyone. She begins wondering if they had a group therapy while she was gone. And when Serena asks him to make dinner as well, she is shocked because Serena is someone who doesn't usually ask for things. The others also encourage him to make dinner because they've been having instant noodles so far, so he asks for some money for a trip to the grocery store. When they all point him to the piggy bank, Athena starts suspecting that they definitely did something because it doesn't make sense how they can build so much trust in just a few days. To keep up with the others, she declares that she will help him shop, but she knows she must keep her guard up. Minoru reminds Athena of her condition and pushes Koshi onto her, which immediately causes her to have a nosebleed. Despite that, she maintains her composure and insists on tagging along with Koshi. Later, they head outside, but Athena is wearing a face mask and has him scout the streets to make sure nothing triggers her condition again. Just then, she sees some boys and backs off, only to bump into Koshi, which makes her bleed again. She pushes forward, hiding behind a car and insisting that she can make it to the store because she's now wearing nose plugs. She then sneaks into the store and quickly comes out with the groceries, calling her mission a success. Koshi tells her she is amazing because while most people run from things that scare them, she faces her fears head-on. He says he noticed this even on his first day when she came to carry him back home, and he thanks her for letting him stay at the dorm. Unbeknownst to him, Athena summoned the courage to face her fears only because he came running after him that same day. Just then, she realizes this is how Koshi won over everyone else and immediately bolts off, only to run into two cute guys. Just then, she realizes she lost her nose plugs and starts feeling dizzy, but Koshi quickly comes up to her rescue, letting her bury her face in his chest. Afterward, he tells the boys she's his big sister and carries her away, leaving her blushing. She takes him to an internet cafe that she often uses and sits silently, making Koshi wonder if she is mad at him for carrying her. He apologizes for everything, but Athena says she's not mad at him at all. In fact, she really liked it when he called her big sister. She then gets excited and asks him to repeat it, and when he abides, she unlocks the final level of happiness. She then makes him say it again and again until her sprinkler goes off, which then leads to another nosebleed. Later, as they walk home, Koshi apologizes again for putting him through that, but he is still grateful that she came along. At that moment, Athena feels bad because she assumed Koshi was getting freaky with the others to win them over, when in reality, he was only being kind. That night, as everyone loves the dinner he cooks, Athena starts to wonder what she can do to make Koshi's life better. Just then, Minoru pulls Koshi into her lap and Freya buries his face in her juicy melons, prompting Athena to pull out her moral enforcement tools once again. Seeing this makes Kiriya so excited that she accidentally spills mayo on Serena's shirt, so Serena casually takes it off like it's no big deal. Athena finally stops the chaos and declares that from this day forward, she will serve as the cockblocker this anime needs because they're all getting too R-rated for YouTube. A few days later, Koshi is doing the laundry when Minoru suddenly hands him her plot armor, which makes him flustered. She tells him to relax as she starts pulling down on her fresh pair, but stops at the last second, leaving the man hungry for more. Later, as he hangs the pair to dry, he tells himself that he's just doing his job, but since he doesn't want the plot armor poking at his face, he uses towels to cover it up from all four sides. He then takes a break and wonders if the girls have any plans for the Golden Week. He also realizes it's been 2 weeks since he came here, and he hasn't gone to school ever since his house burned down. Later, he sets up breakfast for everyone and then heads upstairs, where he knocks on Atena's door to let her know. She tells him to call her big sis one more time, and when he does, she comes out of the room with a big smile on her face. She thanks him for cooking and is about to give him a head pat, but her condition kicks in just at the last second. Kashi tells her she doesn't have to push herself, but Atena insists on giving him head pats. She then slowly moves in, and Kashi panics because he's staring directly into her milk packs. Just then, Freya pulls him back and asks if he likes Atena's melons, but Atena slaps her with the moral enforcement tool. She says trying to get freaky with Kashi is not allowed, but Minoru shows up and calls her a hypocrite for forcing Kashi to call her big sis. Just then, Kiriya joins the conversation and claims that she is the first one to be called big sis, so they suggest a competition to see who's more deserving. After breakfast, Freya asks him to address her and Oni-chan, but Kashi can't understand why he's being forced to wear a pink maid outfit.
Why are you gay?
She says it's common for older sisters to dress up their younger siblings, but he tells her only she is freaky enough to do that. When he argues that this dress is for girls, she says it does not matter because younger brothers are playthings for older sisters, which makes him flustered. Kiriya pulls out a red card and disqualifies her for lying to Kashi, so she asks Minoru what she would do in this situation. Minoru says she will use Kashi as a test subject in her lab, and she immediately gets 3 red cards. Just then, a sleepy Sirene walks down and immediately passes out in Kashi's lap because she's super hungry. While she's having breakfast, Kiriya steps up to show everyone how to be a big sis, and the girls think she might be the best at it because she already has many younger brothers. However, Kiriya immediately pulls him into a headlock, followed by some extremely questionable submission moves that she learned from Lana Rhodes. Being buried in Kiriya's cakes, Kashi passes out, so Atena quickly takes the stage to take care of him. However, Koshi accidentally exposes her milk packs in 4K, causing her to nosebleed all over him. After he takes a shower, the girls all start apologizing to him for this mess. And even though it's chaotic, he still enjoys living with 5 thick babes who are all dying to fiddle with his joystick. Just then, Minoru tells him they've been planning a surprise for him, and it's time to reveal that he will be going back to school after the Golden Week is over. Koshi is shocked because he thought it was a complicated process, but she tells him all she had to do was sign some papers. He knows it was not that easy, so he thanks him wholeheartedly for it and promises to be both a good dorm mom and a good student. At that moment, Atena realizes that, unlike the others, she has not done anything to help Kashi, even though she claims to be his big sis. Nonetheless, seeing the guy happy after what he went through puts her heart at ease. A few days later, Kashi returns to school all excited and gets emotional once he sees his very own locker. Just as he takes in the moment, a girl comes running in and kicks him in the face, angrily asking where he has been all this time. After getting knocked down, he looks up and recognizes the girl as his classmate Sudhya. She scolds him for not texting her all this time, politely claiming she was super worried about him. But then she goes back to being a brat and casually walks away, so he does not get to see the embarrassment on her face. She immediately regrets not being able to talk to him like a normal person. But when Kashi shows up again, she tells him to shut up and begins walking away. He goes after her, apologizing for not contacting her, but she ignores him and enters the class. During the lecture, Kashi realizes he should use the dorm phone to call Supia, so he promises to tell him everything that has happened in the past few weeks. However, then he remembers all the freaky things that have happened to him, and he starts wondering if it's really a good idea to tell her. After the class ends, he decides to talk to Sudhya, but his professor starts consoling him because Minoru told him everything that happened. That's when he sees Sudhya leaving the classroom and immediately runs after her. He tries to talk to her, but she doesn't listen. So when he grabs her hand to stop her, she gets angry and tells him never to touch her again. He then realizes that Sudhya has a condition involving touch, and he should have been more mindful. On the other hand, Sudhya is cooling off on the roof and admits she should have been nice to Kashi after what he went through. She then explains that her body is sensitive to heat, whether it's the sunlight or the warmth of another person, but that's the exact reason why she and Kashi became friends. She reminisces about the time when she was young and watched others enjoy themselves in the park while she watched them from the shade because she could not play in the sunlight. Even though she wished to join them, she coped by telling herself that all of them must smell like poo, but that's when Kashi approached her and invited her to play with him. She told him she couldn't and then explained her condition, so Kashi ran inside and froze his hands with ice just so she could hold them for a while. He then placed his hand on her cheeks, and after confirming that she was feeling okay, he grabbed her hand and took her outside. Sudhya then recalls that Kashi's hand went back to normal after a few minutes, so she got annoyed and pushed him away. However, recalling that memory makes her really happy, and she still remembers how it felt when he touched her face. She feels bad because she always reacts the opposite of what she truly feels. But even then, Kashi never left her side for all these years. Just then, Kashi shows him and cups her face with cold hands, calling her a dummy for sitting on the roof despite her condition. She asks why his hands are cold, and he says he had packed ice before coming to school, but he completely forgot about it earlier when he touched her. He then places the ice pack on Sudhya's face, and it makes her feel much better. Later, he explains his whole living situation to Sudhya, but she thinks he's making it all up. When he insists it's the truth, she tells him to take her to the dorm so she can see for herself. When she suddenly gets up, she starts to feel dizzy, so Kashi quickly catches her before she falls. Somehow, she ends up in bed with Kashi directly on top of her. And when he tries to pull back, she grabs his arm and gives him the hint that she's dying to taste his sausage.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Which makes him extremely nervous. However, she quickly switches character and kicks him in the gut, only to regret it immediately after. Later, she decides to follow Kashi home and starts teasing him. But Kashi says he has no reason to feel guilty because he has not done anything wrong. Just then, he hears an explosion inside the dorm, and Minoru comes running out with Freya, telling him that she had another problem with toxic fumes, leaving Sudhya in shock. Soon after, Athena returns home to find Sudhya sitting angrily at the table and asks Kashi who she is. He introduces her as his classmate and an old friend, adding that she is the most normal person he's met ever since he came here. Just then, Minoru and Freya slide down and are about to diddle with Sudhya, but Koshi immediately guards her, explaining that she doesn't like to be touched. Just then, Sudhya kicks him in the cake because he was touching her while explaining her condition. The girls start thinking she must be in love with Kashi to beat him up like that, and when they see her go red in embarrassment, it further reinforces their assumption. Minoru then turns to Athena and tells her she must up her sloppy-toppy game or Sudhya will steal Kashi from her. And when she acts confused, Freya reminds her that she also has hots for the guy. Athena sternly declines and says she's his pseudo-sister, and the word sister immediately summons Kiria, who has a lot of brothers, as they start arguing over who is the more suitable big sis for Kashi. Sudhya tells them to shut it because she must see whether this dorm is appropriate for Kashi or not. She then heads to Kashi's room for inspection and notices that everything seems ordinary. Seeing his room so organized makes Athena want to clap him on the spot, and when she starts praising him for always being so tidy, Sudhya's rage meter starts filling up. He then asks Sudhya if she really needs to inspect every room, and she argues he's giving him a chance to redeem himself. Minoru then takes Sudhya to her room, but it is still filled to the brim with toxic fumes, so Kashi quickly shuts the door before they all die from poisoning. He then tells Sudhya that Minoru is a researcher who often ends up causing problems, and Sudhya becomes horrified because she has heard rumors about evil scientists in the area. Next up, they head to Freya's room, which is well organized with several custom-made cosplays. Freya immediately loses her mind and pins Sudhya down so she can force her into her newest outfit. But when Sudhya starts making happy noises, Athena smacks Freya in the head to stop her. Kashi is worried for his life, so Athena decides to take charge and take Sudhya to her room, which is the cleanest and most normal in the entire dorm. Kashi is also happy because this is the first time she's ever invited him inside, and when he says it smells nice, Athena starts blushing hard. Seeing her reaction infuriates Sudhya, so Kiria steps in and decides to show her what a real pseudo-sister looks like. In her room, she shows her extensive collection of shoujo manga and even offers to lend her some, which immediately makes Sudhya feel better. However, when Kiria opens the manga and sees two characters kissing, she immediately goes into high-performance mode and punches the wall. Sudhya decides she has seen enough and concludes that this place is far too dangerous for Kashi, but right before she explodes, Serena shows up and shoves a rice cracker in her mouth. While Kashi and Athena watch in horror, Serena casually tells Sudhya that it will help her forget her troubles, which actually calms her down. But when Serena casually mentions that they're expired, she loses her cool and declares she'll burn this place down. That night, the girls manage to calm her down, and Minoru requests a second chance so they can prove themselves. Thus, she decides that Sudhya will spend the night here, and living under the same roof as Kashi makes her cookie moist. They wonder which room Sudhya will sleep in, and Sudhya immediately points to Athena because she suspects her of having feelings for Kashi. Later, as Athena sets up the futon, She notices that Sudhya is glaring at her and decides to have small talk with her, so she can ease up. She asks her what Kashi was like when he was younger, but Sudhya sadly responds that she thought she knew Kashi, but now she's turned into Jon Snow. She then asks Athena what her relationship is with Kashi, and it makes her blush really hard. Meanwhile, Kashi is in the bath, hoping Athena and Sudhya get along, but when he tries to leave, he passes by Kirya at the door. Athena and Sudhya then hear their scream and rush to the bath to see them practicing the default position. Later, they both apologize to them, and Kirya explains she accidentally ran into Kashi, but Sudhya believes she did it on purpose. They both apologize to each other, and Kirya says it's fine because they are like siblings. However, when Sudhya angrily asks if she always lets her brothers hit it from the front, she immediately gets flustered. She then asks Kirya if she sees Kashi as more than just her brother, and that question alone makes Kirya's heart race. As she nervously looks around in confusion, her silence speaks volumes, and Sudhya, now upset, runs out of the bath. A few days later, both Athena and Kirya act weirdly around Kashi, and when he tries to make things normal, they quietly leave the table. Freya asks him if he did anything to upset them, and remembering what happened in the bath makes him nervous. Later, he realizes both Athena and Kirya forgot their lunch at home, and since they have classes till late, Freya suggests he bring lunch to them. When he says he's not allowed in a women-only college, Freya says she will take care of it. Soon after, Kashi runs into a tennis college, cosplaying as a cute girl, and catches everyone's attention. When some girls recognize that he's a boy, he starts running from them and bumps into some other girls, who immediately get excited upon seeing the junk in his trunk. Just then, Athena shows up and is immediately shocked to see Kashi in her school. When the other girls try to diddle with him, she gets jealous and immediately grabs his hand, shoving his face into her melons and stating that Kashi is her younger sister. She then grabs him and runs outside, where Kashi tells her he came after her because she forgot her lunch. He then asks her if she's gonna have another nosebleed, but she says she'll be fine because he is dressed as a girl right now. She then takes him to Kirya, but they bump into each other and end up getting soaked. Kirya takes them to the dressing room so they can change. So when Kashi tries to leave the room, he realizes that the girls from earlier are looking for him outside. Athena and Kirya suggest he stay in the room but face the wall, stating that it's okay since he's dressed as a girl. As Kashi turns around, he hears Athena and Kirya making happy noises while drying each other with a towel, and tries his best not to whip his Johnny out. After they change, Athena asks him to turn around, and he sees her wearing a tight coat that makes her drumsticks jiggle like jelly. Before he can say anything, the buttons on her coat break and strike him in the head, causing him to fall over. When Athena rushes to check up on her, she realizes that her milk packs are out on full display and passes out with another nosebleed. That night, as they return home, Minoru praises Kashi for doing such a nice job, and then asks Athena and Kirya why they've been acting so strangely around him. Not wanting to address the issue, Athena suddenly pulls out a magazine from her bag and suggests they all go on a vacation. She even suggests they invite Sudhya, hoping that she can clear the misunderstanding between them. As soon as Sereni hears the word vacation, she runs upstairs without saying a word, and it makes the rest wonder if she is okay. Athena asks if she said something offensive, but Koshi assures her she didn't, and Minoru urges him to check up on Sereni. He then heads upstairs to her room and realizes he's never been inside Sereni's room, and given how Minoru and Freya have acted with him, he can only imagine the worst. As he steps inside, he finds the room filled to the brim with garbage bags and tries to find Sereni within the pile. Somehow, some bags shift, and she falls directly on top of him, saying her sleeping space has been ruined. He offers to take out the trash in her room, but she says these are segments that help her summon the magical powers of the moon. It flies over Kashi's head, but he does remember her saying something similar that night when he slept in Kirya's room. He asks her if she visited him that night, and she admits she paid him with some lip service. He then asks her about the trip, and she quietly mentions that she usually only leaves the dorm to go to school and isn't used to hangouts. She admits she is not opposed to the idea, but being away from her lunar segments disturbs her peace of mind. Kashi takes her case to the others, and Fred suggests they find more of these lunar segments so they can create a portable safe zone for Sereni, even outside the dorm. When Athena questions where to find the segments, the girls agree that everything about Sereni is mysterious, and she has been living here for several years, but they never considered questioning her. In the end, they all agreed to find things that remind them of the moon. The next morning, Kashi is heading to school when he sees Sudhya limping around and approaches her to invite her on the vacation. When he sees that she's dizzy because of the heat, He pulls out ice packs from his bag and places them on her cheek. Later in class, he tells her more about the vacation, and she reluctantly agrees to come so she can make sure none of the girls try to get freaky with him. She then starts slapping him with her ponytail, and back home, Serenity feels that her servant is under attack. Just then, Freya enters her room and shows her a low-budget Sailor Moon costume that she made just for her. She gets excited imagining Serenity in that costume, but Serenity says that wearing cosplay in public is considered a breach of etiquette. Freya feels defeated and decides to leave her alone, but runs into Minoru in the hall, who tells her she'll take care of it. She demonstrates her moonlight sake, which will also increase Serenity's desire to taste some sausage. However, the potion is so strong that Freya turns into a freaky scissor sister just by inhaling the fumes. That evening, Koshi returns home to find Kiriya and Serenity practicing Tai Chi in the front yard. Kiriya explains it's connected to the cosmos, which might help Serenity, only for her to collapse the next second. Serenity then says the cosmos are too much for her to handle, and she only wants to stick to the moon. Just then, Freya and Minoru show up cosplaying as Sailor Moon and Sailor Jupiter and make themselves look like idiots. Athena soon arrives and questions why they're acting like clowns, so Kashi explains they're trying to find ways to find Serenity's lunar segments. Hearing this, Athena hands Serenity a simple umbrella, and when she opens it up, she sees the night sky and a full moon printed on the inside. Serenity nods her head in agreement, and everyone is happy because she can now join them on the vacation. That night, before Serenity returns to her room, Kashi tells her that he found a rough jacket in her room and decided to patch it up, so now it looks brand new. Serenity starts blushing when she sees it and thanks Kashi, because these robes are sacred to her. That night, she sneaks into his room while he's sleeping and gives him another lip service for mending her jacket. The next day, they drive to their booked hotel, which has a spooky vibe to it. Turns out, this place has a similar name to a famous tourist hotel, and Athena ended up booking the wrong one. She suggests they skedaddle out of there, but a somber attendant appears at the front and welcomes them in, so they decide to stay for one day. Later, as everyone settles down, Athena sits in the corner regretting her stupid mistake, and Kashi tries to cheer her on by asking her to visit a shrine with him. When Minoru notes that it's covered in talismans, she assumes it must be haunted, and this makes Kiriya shake in her boots. Freya starts teasing her for being scared of ghosts, so she immediately jumps on Akashi for comfort. That night, as the girls chill in the hot spring, they all discuss whether ghosts are real or not, which makes Kiriya nervous. Minoru then asks Athena what made her think of going on a vacation, and she says she wanted to spend some quality time with everyone and also get to know Suhiya better. Later, as Kashi is in the men's bath, Minoru and Freya peek over from their side to get a glimpse of his little Johnny. When he starts to freak out, they reveal they're wearing towels, but Athena quickly shows up with her tools to keep them in check. Freya ends up pulling Athena's plot armor to expose her honkadonkus, which causes Kashi to have a nosebleed. Later that night, Kashi finds himself sleeping in the same room as everyone else, and seeing cookies and melons everywhere keeps him up. Just then, he sees Athena run out of the room, but before he checks on her, Freya locks him in her arms. He somehow escapes her grasp and heads into the hall, but Minoru joins him because she is also concerned about Athena. Together, they go around the entire place looking, but are unable to find her. The only place they haven't checked is the closed annex, but once they step inside, they feel as if it's getting bigger and bigger. When Kashi gets distracted by ominous statues, he finds himself separated from Minoru, but she quickly returns and grabs his hand. Just then, Serenity senses something amiss and wakes up. As they walk, he asks Minoru if she is scared, but she pins him against the wall and says she's not because she's got a macho man with her. Kashi gets nervous and runs off, only to run into Athena, who says she got lost looking for the bathroom. Before they can process what's going on, they see a glowing spirit with an umbrella following them and quickly hide in a room. She then brings herself close to him and grabs his hand, wondering what kind of relationship she wants to have with Kashi. She then declares that she will protect him from now on, and moves closer to kiss him. But Minoru suddenly turns the lights on and calls the police. Serenity then enters the room with her umbrella, and he finally realizes the spirit he saw was her. The next day, while the others fret over missing all the action, Kashi is relieved that Serenity is enjoying herself. Meanwhile, Athena is still wondering what she feels about Kashi, when Sidia suddenly approaches her. Before she can get a word out, Minoru declares that they are going to the beach today. Soon after, the girls play volleyball, and seeing their jiggle physics in action makes Suhiya jealous because she's flat as a surfboard. She then sees Kashi watching the girls using binoculars and suspects that he's into thick mommies. In reality, he's keeping an eye on them to make sure they don't drown. However, seeing Athena in a swimsuit awakens his inner Johnny Sins, but he tells himself that Athena is like a sister to him. Sudhya watches all of this and feels sad because he's not paying any attention to her. Just then, she gets a weird sensation, and it turns out that a small fish has slid into her fountain of youth. This causes her to lose balance, and Kashi runs after her. However, Kiriya reaches there first and pulls Sudhya out of the water. Kashi quickly joins her and asks what happened, but she angrily tells him to skedaddle. However, Kiriya tells her that Kashi was so worried about saving her that he jumped into the water, and this flatters her because she knows Kashi can't swim. This is why he begged Kiriya to save Sudhya, but Kiriya believes he would have drowned saving Sudhya if she weren't there. That's when Sudhya realizes that Kashi was paying equal attention to everyone, including her. Later, Athena asks him why he never took swimming classes, and he says it's on his list. However, he feels down because he would have saved Sudhya himself if he hadn't slacked on swimming lessons. The girls encourage her for trying, and Athena tells him that Sudhya is safe because he was keeping a watchful eye on everyone. This makes him flustered, so he leaves to buy drinks while wondering why his little Jimmy gives a standing ovation every time Athena talks to him. Meanwhile, Sudhya begins to heat up, so Kiriya shocks her by putting ice packs on her cheeks. She tells her that Kashi packed these especially for her, and Kiriya admits that he is so caring towards Sudhya that it makes her jealous. Hearing this, Sudhya starts to feel embarrassed and apologizes to Kiriya for saying mean things to her when she stayed the night. She thanks her for saving her life and consoling her, and it makes Kiriya go haywire on her. Freya then asks Sudhya why she keeps her hair longer when the heat bothers her, and she whispers that Kashi's first crush was their teacher, who also had long hair. Freya finds her story so cute that she quickly hugs her, but it causes her to pass out. Athena quickly leaves to buy an ice cream for Sudhya, but on the way, she gets stopped by two guys who want to explore her dungeons. When they grab her hand, she starts to feel dizzy and almost cries about her condition. But Kashi suddenly shows up and tells the guys to skedaddle. When they ask who this guy is, Athena says he's her younger brother, so Kashi quickly grabs her hand and takes her away. He later apologizes for grabbing her hand, but she says it's fine because she feels safe around him as opposed to the other guys. Later, as Athena takes a shower, Sudhya suddenly joins her and acknowledges that she has been acting like a brat ever since she met them all, but they've all been nothing but nice to her. She also thanks her for helping Kashi during the darkest time of his life, but Athena says it was all Minoru and Freya, and it frustrates her because she wanted to help Kashi too. She then realizes that they are both alike in the sense that they care for Kashi, and this helps them bond. That evening, as they walk home, Sudhya feels relieved, but then she notices that Kashi looks extremely sad. Even the next day, when Freya tries to toy with him, he tells her not to mess with him. While everyone's eating, Kiriya notices that he's usually distant, and he even stops Athena from helping him do the dishes. Later, Minoru and Freya also talk about Kashi's odd behavior, and when Minoru says it began after they came back from the beach, Freya questions if anything occurred there. Minoru knows he won't tell them, so Freya comes up with a plan to make him feel better. Downstairs, Koshi is cleaning up when his eye catches the picture on the table. Freya arrives just then and tells him to come with her. She then drags him to a cosplay studio where she forces him to try out a new outfit for a photo shoot. However, when he gets stuck in the outfit, she has to help him wear it properly. When she starts getting a little too freaky, she kicks him out of the room. After they dress up, Freya explains that these characters are from a famous mobile game, and while she's a knight commander, he is her younger brother and an ordinary knight who is in love with her. Hearing the Alabama story makes him feel self-conscious about his own situation, so he urges her to start the photo shoot. They then get to a point where the two characters have to fight each other, so while they are acting that scene, Freya asks him if something happened at the beach. Kashi hesitates at first, but then she urges him to be his true self, which allows him to open up. He tells her someone told him they see him as family, and instead of being happy, he is feeling the opposite. She asks him if he wants this person to see him as a man, but Kashi replies that it won't be right because he is just a dorm mother. However, Freya helps him understand that he has been acting like a man ever since he came here, so pretending to be just their dorm mother is him being unfaithful to himself. Because of this, he has been misleading others unintentionally. He argues that he wanted the dorm to be his home, and that is the reason he kept ignoring his feelings. He also does not care about being a man surrounded by a bunch of busty chicks because, in reality, he is scared of losing his home again. Seeing him having a breakdown, Freya pulls him into a hug and apologizes for pushing him too hard. She tells him she's also hidden her feelings in the past and is trying to be better, but she won't force him to do the same. As they walk home, Kashi tells him he might not be as determined as her, but he will do his best to confront his real feelings. He also declares that he will protect this person who sees him as family, and with that Freya helps him get over this issue. A few days later, Koshi and Satya attended a college festival and Freya welcomes them by demonstrating the jiggle physics of her drumsticks. Satya asks about her armband, and she reveals she's part of the fashion club and she's supplying costumes to most participants. Koshi figures she is also on the executive committee, so she offers to show them around. She then latches on to Satya, and Koshi looks around, relieved that no one recognizes him from the time he came here dressed as a femboy. Freya then takes them to an ominous tent, but when Koshi asks why it is further away from all the activity, she tells him how to ask questions and pushes them both in. Inside, they see Minoru dressed as a witch selling her premium bathwater. They ask what she is really up to, and she says she's selling potions to make some quick cash. She also explains that she is not allowed to sell this stuff legally, so when a disciplinary committee member shows up, she quickly packs her stuff but accidentally drops one of her potions into Koshi's bag. Later, Freya takes them to a classified meeting where a student discusses a woman of alien species origins roaming around on campus. She then displays a picture of Serena on the projector and tells everyone that she is a rare sight who brings bad omen. One of the participants barges and reveals she spotted Serena near the stands, so everyone immediately runs out to capture her. Koshi imagines them using Serena as a lab rat and rushes outside to protect Serena. However, he runs into a girls-only sausage party, which leaves him speechless. He hears some girls blaming Serena for the situation, but then he spots an empty bottle on the ground, which tells him it's one of Minoru's potions. Just then, the girl approaches Koshi and asks if they have met before, and Koshi realizes she's the same girl who ran after him when he last visited. Freya then puts the wig on him, and he immediately turns into a cute femboy. The freaky scissor sisters in the area all divert their attention towards him, and before he knows it, he's buried in cakes and melons. When Satya tries to shoo them off, she also becomes a target, which causes Koshi to scream for help. Just then, Serena shows up rocking the Johnny Silverhand shades and summons the power of the moon to cause a bright flash. Soon after, the potion in the air is filtered, and everyone returns to normal, except for Serena, who collapses upon using so much of her power. Koshi takes her to the infirmary, where he thanks her for the rescue and asks if she would like to have some snacks. Serena says the only snack she wants is his lollipop.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell.
Because it's the best way for her to replenish her powers. Koshi then recalls the night she kissed him and gets nervous, but she tells him he isn't the only one who has formed a contract with her, and she visits all of her servants every night for some midnight snack. She then starts approaching him slowly, which makes Koshi's soldier rise, but before they get freaky, Freya and Satya return with refreshments. Afterward, Freya takes them to a cafe where Athena is working, and Athena is backstage preparing herself to face cute guys. When she steps out of the curtain, she starts to feel dizzy but somehow manages to keep herself up. While Koshi takes a table, Freya notices Satya eyeing the maids and asks her if she likes maid outfits. Before he can answer, Athena returns with her order and almost drops it on Koshi, but Satya catches it. However, Athena ends up deploying her airbags in Koshi's face, but she quickly backs off and apologizes while keeping her maid roleplay intact. She then heads to the next table to serve tea, and when some guys ask her out, Koshi gets worried for her. However, Freya tells him not to interfere, which allows Athena to reject the boys on her own. Freya then explains that Athena is making real efforts to get over her condition, and watching them from afar is also a way of protecting her. Later, Athena's friend praises Athena for pulling herself through, and Athena says she wants to be comfortable around men other than Koshi. At first, she assumes Athena and Koshi are dating, but after Athena explains that Koshi is like family to her and that she wants to be closer to him, she suggests they spend time together exploring the stands. Athena worries it will be short-staffed, but Freya barges in and forces Satya to dress as a maid. When Koshi joins them, Freya pushes Athena forward and tells her to spend some time with him, leaving them both blushing. As they head out, Athena feels weird in the maid costume, but Koshi tells her she looks bussin', and it makes her smile. They head to the cross-dressing show to see Kyria, who is judging the show because she won it last year. When the crowd starts cheering her like she's Sydney Sweeney, Koshi begins to feel dehydrated and casually drinks Minoru's potion because he thinks it's a cold drink. When he looks at the label, the potion says it will unveil his true self, and it worries him because he has no idea what will happen to him. Later, they meet Kyria backstage, who is glad they came to see her. She also reveals she got 3 tickets to the maze for judging the contest, but Athena says she can't go because she has to return to the cafe. However, Kashi is under the potion's effect and excitedly says he wants to go, so both of them agree to take him because he rarely asks for anything. They head to the maze, where they learn they will get a special medal if they solve it, and Kashi gets extremely hyped about it. Once they step inside, Kiriya gets jump-scared at every corner, so Kashi excitedly takes the role of her sugar daddy and vows to protect her, even though he's having a blast. Athena realizes he's acting more like a boy than a dorm mother, and wishes Kashi would embrace his true self more often. Hearing that, Kiriya suddenly embraces Kashi and tells them she wants to solve this thing together, and Athena follows her lead, making him blush. As they rush to the exit, they trip on each other, and Kashi falls on something squishy. When the lights turn on, he sees that he's getting hands-on with Athena and Kiriya's milk jugs. Later, he returns to Minoru to tell her that her potion caused him a lot of trouble, but Minoru tells him the vial he took has normal water in it, because she was testing the placebo effect. This makes him feel even worse, because now he knows he acted like a complete idiot on his own. Seeing him freak out, Freya asks the girls if anything happened between them, but they quickly say no. She then says that she enjoyed every second of Sudhya being a dummy mommy, because guys are actually paying her to step on them. Just then, some girls come running after Sirna to capture her, and Minoru uses her potion to distract them. Kiriya steps out of the room to avoid the fumes, but all the ladies affected by the potion run after him. In the end, the whole cafe turns into complete chaos, but at least they had fun. A few days later, Kiriya gets a call from her family, which ruins her mood, so Kashi asks her if she's okay. She explains that the students in her family dojo host a Christmas party every year, but since her parents are going out of town, they want her to organize the event. She worries it's too much for her, so Athena promises that she will lend her a hand. Kashi joins too, so she suggests they go shopping on the weekend. Later, Kashi heads to the bats for cleaning, but runs into Athena fresh out of the oven. This ends up causing another nosebleed, and she feels so tired that she is unable to join them for shopping. Kashi takes the blame and promises to do twice the work, which makes Kiriya happy. Just then, Minoru starts teasing Kiriya for going on a date with Kashi, and she gets so embarrassed that she knocks down the front door and runs off on her own. After Kashi joins her at the mall, she suggests they buy snacks first, so they head to the Christmas-themed snack store. Afterward, they head to the gift shop to buy presents, while also having lots of fun together. In the end, they stop by at a large Christmas tree, and when Kiriya sees a lot of lovebirds around, she starts developing feelings for Kashi. Later, as they are eating together, she wonders if this counts as a date, but when some girls nearby mistake them for siblings, she starts feeling a little sad. She also wonders what Kashi thinks of her and even starts to feel a little jealous of Athena. Afterward, they head to the toy store, where Kashi asks if she will dress as Santa, and Kiriya says maybe she will ask Freya to make her a costume. Kashi starts to imagine how freaky she'll look in that costume, and admits Freya has been a bad influence on his innocent mind. Kiriya then says Athena will look better as a Santa, because she's got 2 juicy presents, while she's flat as a surfboard. Kashi understands she feels this way because she's not bubbly like other girls, but despite that, he encourages her to try girly clothes because he thinks she'll be bussin' in them. Hearing his kind words, Kiriya goes full red, and Kashi starts to panic because he doesn't want to give her the wrong impression. Later, they ask Freya to help with the costume, and it makes her light up like a Christmas tree. When she says they should start right away, Kashi says it's time for him to skedaddle, but Freya ties him up with the measurement tape because she wants him to dress as a reindeer. She then turns to Kiriya and tells her to drop her plot armor so she can take measurements, and Kashi immediately shuts his eyes. However, when Freya starts to get a little too freaky, Kashi crawls out of the room before his winter soldier awakens. He then heads to the shower when he runs into Athena yet again, and this causes Athena to have another nosebleed, which then leads to her missing the Christmas party. As they wonder what to do with the extra costume, Siren arrives and stoically tells them that the skies are clear, and it's the optimal weather for her to use her lunar powers. Kiriya hears this and bribes her with a snack, so she becomes a replacement for Athena. After taking the train, they arrive at the dojo where the young students, including Kiriya's brother, immediately storm her. They then force Kashi and Sirna to wear uniforms, and Kiriya starts their practice by showing them a fall technique. She chooses Kashi as the first test subject, but being so close to his face makes her flustered, and she ends up dropping him hard on the floor. She immediately apologizes for losing control, but Kashi remembers she did this back when they shared a room. After they wrap up for the day, Kashi dresses up as a reindeer and asks the students to help him with the decor. He promises to give badges to everyone who participates, but when the students show no interest, he feels stupid because he spent hours making them. He then spots one girl sitting alone in the corner while the others are in groups, so he decides to talk to her. When he asks her if she is tired, she says she is sad because only good girls get presents, and she won't get any because she is the worst student in class. She also admits she is not brave enough to play with everyone else, and Kashi understands it's hard to make friends when you feel like an outsider. He then recalls his time at the dorm and wonders if he even deserves it. He then tells the girl that her skill does not matter because everyone who tries their hardest will get the gifts. He then hands her a good girl badge that he made last night, and it immediately lights up her mood. The other students see this and immediately show up asking for their badge too, and it makes Koshi emotional. Later, as the students are decorating the hall, Kiriya and Serena show up in their sand and elf costumes, which makes Koshi blush. When Kiriya asks him how she looks, he hesitantly tells her she looks really cute, and she starts acting all girly. However, when her younger brother tries to give her a wedgie, she goes back to her tomboy mode, and angrily tells Kashi to hand out the presents. Afterward, Kashi sees that the lonely girl from earlier has also made a few friends, which makes him relieved. Just then, Kiriya's brother asks Kashi to get on all fours and give Santa a ride, but Kiriya gets flustered because she is thinking of a different kind of ride. Serena decides to go first and immediately climbs on his back, but when Kashi starts to feel something weird, he asks Serena if she's wearing any plot armor. Serena tells him she's going commando tonight, and Kashi runs out of the room in panic. After the party ends, Kiriya joins him outside and thanks him for his help, admitting she could not have managed it on her own. She also apologizes for not getting him a present, but Kashi tells him it's no big deal. He then puts his handmade badge around her neck for her hard work, and it makes her feel so flattered that she leans in to kiss Kashi. However, she notices that Serena is standing right behind her and immediately backs off. Just then, it starts to snow, and they stop to watch it together. A few days later, Kashi is sweeping the front yard in the cold, while Atina watches him from the window. Just then, Minoru calls them in the living room and shows them the new kotatsu that she bought, and Koshi immediately jumps on it in excitement. As everyone gets together under it, Kiriya chooses to sit beside Kashi, which makes Atina a little jealous. When confronted about it, she completely denies it, and Kiriya notices that Kashi is feeling a little uncomfortable. To make him feel better, she makes him sit in her lap, but that only makes him even worse. With everyone settled, Minoru starts to tickle Kashi using her feet, and Fred goes a step further by using Kashi's feet as her personal massager. That leads to a game of footsie, which makes everyone giggle, and Kashi feels right at home between the busty babes. He calmly explains that he always wanted to hang under the kotatsu with his family, and Atina recalls how he lost both his home and his family in that fire. She is about to tell him that he now has a new family, but gets beaten to it by Minoru. Kiriya then mentions how she used to help her brother do homework under the kotatsu, but they always ended up sleeping. This makes Atina imagine what it would be like if she helped Kashi do his homework, while Kashi mentions how he hasn't done homework with his friends for a while. Atina is about to ask him if she can join him, but Koshi asks Minoru if she can invite Sugiya, which makes her feel distressed. The next day, he asks Sugiya if she'd like to study with him under the kotatsu, which infuriates her because she cannot tolerate the heat. Koshi says he will keep it off so it stays cold, but she argues that defeats the whole purpose of having a kotatsu. However, she soon realizes that Kashi just wants to spend time with her, so she agrees to come over, although she wants to have ice cream, so she doesn't faint. When he returns home, he is shocked to find that no one is using the kotatsu. Sukiya asks why that's a big deal, and he tells her that Serena has been spending all of her time under it ever since it was set up. As they get under it, Koshi begins shivering from the cold while Sukiya enjoys ice cream. She then tells him to turn it on, and he goes under it, only to be freaked out by Sukiya's thighs. After a while, Kashi starts to feel sleepy and looks up to see that Sukiya has already dozed off. Eventually, she decides to sleep as well, but after a few minutes, Sukiya wakes up from the heat. She then turns the thing off and starts doing her homework, but her eyes are diverted to Kashi's peaceful face. Just then, Kashi starts stretching in his sleep, unaware that his foot is tickling Sukiya's kitty cat. While she's making some cultured sounds, Atina drops by and catches her in the act, leaving her embarrassed. Soon after, the other girls return home and ask Kashi to make dinner, only to find him wearing a band from using kotatsu sign. The following morning, while Atina is learning how to knit in her room, she sees Freya leaving for an early morning cosplay. Kashi is sweeping the front yard when she tells him that her room is a bit messy, so he volunteers to clear it up before she returns. Later, he heads to Freda's room to find it littered, so Atena joins him and offers to help. He promises to clear her room next, but Atena says there's no need because she doesn't want him to see her knitting. Just then, Serena's door seems like it's about to explode, and while Kashi holds it in place, Atena sees Serena trying to exit the room through the window. Kashi worries she will hurt herself and tries to catch her, but the only thing he catches is her fish between his lips. They head back upstairs and try to open Serena's door, but she tells them not to do it. Sudhya then arrives for another inspection of the dorm, and after smacking Kashi in the head for no apparent reason, she helps them tidy up Freya's room. While going through the pile of clothes, Kashi spots one that she made him wear a while back. He also spots the one he wore at the cosplay studio, and when he pretended to be a girl. Then, he accidentally grabs Atena's freakiest plot armor, which makes Sudhya's meter go off. But she quickly calms down when she imagines him wearing it. After a while, they clean up the entire room and then move on to Serena's junkyard. But since she's not letting anyone enter, they decide to knock on Minoru's lab. When she doesn't answer, they decide to step in and find themselves in a decontamination chamber. Minoru then opens the lab door and invites them in, revealing that she set up this lab to make sure the toxic fumes do not escape again. Kashi is excited to check everything out, but Minoru says everything is already clean, much to his disappointment. She promises to give him a tour some other time, so Atena suggests they finally move to Serena's room. However, Serena starts acting like a low-budget shogun and swears not to let anyone through, only to get totally distracted by her favorite snack. The three of them quickly combine their strengths to open the door, and a lot of stuff comes out of it. They realize that it's not trash, but a bunch of actually useful stuff, so they ask her what this is about. Serena tells them that the place has gotten lovelier ever since Kashi came, and they have all taken good care of her despite her being a weirdo. That's why she dug these gifts for them from her pile, but it made everything shift towards the door. Minoru then spots a bottle of sake within the pile, and immediately gets high on it. Later, as Kashi and Sudhya tidy up Serena's room, Kashi steps outside to find all three of them high as Snoop Dogg. They all crawl onto Kashi, which makes him flustered, and Atena starts mumbling about how he's been ignoring her for others. Buried under their weight, Kashi gives up trying to escape until Sudhya arrives and gives him a beating for it. The next morning, Kashi is outside sweeping in the cold as his mind drifts back to everything that happened the day before. Meanwhile, inside the dorm, Atena is still feeling the effects of the sake she had and sits in her room sewing a glove. During breakfast, Kashi casually asks what everyone's plans are for New Year's Eve. Minoru mentions that she plans to stay in the dorm and continue her usual research, while Freya says she'll be attending an event. Kashi tells her not to do anything that might end the human race, but before he can continue, he suddenly feels a little dizzy and accidentally spills tea on the shelf. Kiriya then mentions that she's staying too, since she already visited her family during Christmas and doesn't feel like spending New Year's taking care of her little brother. Minoru smirks and teases her, saying she just wants to spoil Kashi instead, which leaves Kiriya flustered. Kashi then asks Serena what her plans are, and she starts explaining in her usual complicated way about why she can't leave the dorm. Just then, Atena comes downstairs looking all happy and declares she will also be staying, which comes as a surprise to Minoru. She tries teasing Kashi about being surrounded by Kirby babes, but he casually says he's just happy to spend the holidays surrounded by friends. He adds he never expected to live that long when he was rotting on the streets, but now he has a home and a family of scissor sisters who all want to fiddle with his little Johnny. As he talks, he starts coughing a little, but Minoru raises her glass and declares that they'll have the best New Year celebration ever. Kashi promises to cook something special for everyone, so Minoru gives him a handful of cash for groceries and asks Atena to join him. However, she says she's busy, which surprises him since she rarely passes up a chance to go with him. He leads with Kiriya instead, and Atena goes back to her room to finish the glove that she's making for him as a present. At the store, he starts sneezing, but when Kiriya asks if he's okay, he insists he's fine. He also wonders if he did something to upset Atena because she refused to join him. Seeing him zoning out, Kiriya suggests grabbing instant noodles to make things easier, but he refuses, saying he wants to make a proper homemade meal for everyone. While they shop, Kiriya suddenly asks if he thinks girls should know how to cook, but before he can answer, Kashi suddenly collapses, leaving her panicking. Back at the dorm, Atena proudly finishes sewing the glove, but Kiriya barges into her room to tell him about Kashi. They rush to Kashi's room, where he's lying in bed, burning up with a fever. Freya quickly barges in and squishes his face in her airbags because she doesn't want him to die, but he tells her he's gonna die from suffocation if not from fever. Athena instantly pulls out her moral enforcement tools and scolds her to back off before Minoru checks on him and confirms that it's just a regular cold. Kashi admits he's been feeling off all morning, but didn't think it was serious. The girls scold him for not taking care of himself and make him rest properly. Later, Minoru says he needs warmth and healthy food, so Freya shows up dressed like a nurse, looking so freaky that it might make his fever worse. Athena tells her to quit fooling around, and Kyria focuses on making fresh fruit juice using her Tai Chi skills, determined to help him recover as quickly as possible. Just then, Suta bursts into the dorm and storms straight into Kashi's room, shaking him awake in a panic, but he assures her he's okay. When she leans closer to check his temperature, the heat radiating from his forehead overwhelms her, and she suddenly collapses right on top of him. Before things can get any more awkward, Athena and Minoru walk in and quickly carry Suta out of the room. When Kashi turns his head, he realizes he's now lying beside Freya, who's wearing her nurse outfit and wants to play Doctor with him. But before she can take things further, Athena rushes back into the room to scold her. Just then, Kyria soon shows up holding a glass of freshly made juice that might actually flatline Kashi. Athena desperately tries to stop her from giving it to Kashi, but she ends up tripping the juice on her head. In the chaos, she exposes her juicy drumsticks, and this makes her pass out with a nosebleed. Freya and Kyria drag an unconscious Athena out of the room and ask Kashi to rest well. Later, the rest of the dorm decides to handle the chores themselves. Freya and Sereni team up to clean the toilets, Kyria takes care of the laundry, and Minoru stays behind to watch over both Suta and Athena as they rest. That night, Kashi tosses and turns in bed, haunted by a dream of his old house burning down. He wakes up drenched in sweat and steps out of his room for some air. Kyria finds him in the hallway, and when he explains that he just got too sweaty, she offers to wash his pajamas, saying she's used to doing it for her brothers. After she takes them off, he runs off toward the bath, only to walk straight into Freya and Serena, who grab him and insist on bathing him themselves. Meanwhile, Kyria is doing the laundry and starts sniffing Kashi's clothes, only to snap back to her senses. She then sees Kashi running out wearing his birthday suit and throws some clothes on him, which only makes him look like a femboy. Still, he pretends everything's fine and returns outside to sweep the yard in the freezing cold. Meanwhile, Athena is in the kitchen preparing rice soup for Kashi, determined to help him recover. Just as she's about to add some eggs, Serena casually mentions that she already drank them because they look like little moons. Minoru suggests adding her experimental seasoning instead, which immediately sparks an argument between the two. In the middle of their bickering, Kashi suddenly walks in and startles them, causing the entire container of Minoru's potion to spill into the pot. The mixture reacts violently, sending steam everywhere, tearing most of their clothes apart. Seeing so much plot at once fries Kashi's brain, and he ends up collapsing again. With the clinic closed for the holidays, Minoru says they'll take him to the hospital if his fever doesn't drop by tomorrow. The girls feel guilty for letting things get out of hand, but when they offer to take shifts watching him, Athena firmly insists she'll handle it alone. That night, Athena stays by Kashi's bedside, gently wiping his sweat and whispering for him to get better. Suta returns later worried sick, but Freya reassures her that Kashi will pull through. Kyria helps with the laundry, while Serena complains that she can't do much, because the moon is weak tonight. As Kashi's fever worsens, Athena holds his hand and softly recalls their first meeting. She remembers how cold and strict she used to act, and how, despite that, he still treated her with kindness and patience. Thinking back to all the moments they've shared, she thanks him for changing her life. She tells him she's glad she found him on that park bench that day and begs him to wake up soon, saying she still has so much she wants to tell him. By morning, Kashi finally opens his eyes to find Athena asleep beside him, holding his hand. He wonders if she's been taking care of him all night, and when she wakes up, she smiles softly and greets him good morning. After confirming that his fever's gone, Kashi immediately gets up, eager to get back to work. Athena scolds him and tells him to rest, but he insists on cooking the special New Year's dinner he promised everyone. She finally gives in and hands him the gloves she made, smiling as he puts them on. When Kashi asks her to join him for grocery shopping, the rest of the girls barge in, claiming they're all coming too. Just then, Suta returns and together they all head out to shop for the new year, laughing like one big chaotic family. Who is your favorite girl in the goddess dormitory? Leave your answers in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more amazing recaps.